Something really interesting caught my eye, which is Ted Cruz in a new interview. Of course, he was one of the people who organized that letter on Capitol Hill objecting to the election results before the January 6th Capitol riots. Well, he spoke out a little bit yesterday about President Trump's claims of election fraud themselves. Now, let's put this up there on the screen. So all he said was that Trump's post-election rhetoric was, quote, way too over the line, reckless, and irresponsible. And immediately, much of the MAGA right and Trump media pounced on Ted Cruz. And the reason I wanted to bring this up, Crystal, is it is the ultimate validator of something that we have talked about here. And I said from the beginning, even before the Capitol riots, as a warning to Ted Cruz and Josh Hawley, is I'm like, you can try and high IQ, stop the steal yourself all day long. You can talk about election result, election law in Pennsylvania, or you can talk about, we need a 10-day commission, blah, blah. If you say even one word that deviates from the election was completely stolen by Venezuelan dominions, then they are going to attack you as a traitor. And that's exactly what happened here to Ted Cruz. All he said, think about this, the architect of the objection on Capitol Hill goes, kind of what he said was over the line. Boom, they smacked him. And I'm looking at this and I'm actually glad, because it shows that there are consequences, which is that when you try and play in the mud, and that when you try and say, oh, well, we're going to dupe the eye, we're going to pull the wool over the eyes of these idiot, MAGA people in order to try and further our agenda, in a way, they're authentic to their belief and they can smell through your crap. And that's exactly what happened here, which is that Ted Cruz thought he could play with fire, get the benefit of being like a MAGA firebrand, and then try and run for president. But if you say even one word against Trump, you're dead. And at the end of the day, Marjorie Taylor Greene and Matt Gaetz will always win. I said it here, then. And it remains even truer today. So I just think it's a perfect illustration of Ted Cruz and anybody's problems.
I liked how he called it stolen by Venezuelan dominions.
Yeah. That's what you got to believe. If you don't say that, you're screwed. And
that's it. I really want people to understand this. There is no threading this needle. There's no doing a little bit of stop the steal or a little bit of stop the steal sort of dog whistling. If you are not willing to be Marjorie Taylor Greene, then you are going to get zero benefit from this insane and outrageous thing that you think that you're doing. And we said this at the time with Josh Hawley, everyone can see, not just us, everyone can see what you're doing. Everyone can see, you don't believe this crap. You're not buying into this stuff. You are just cynically trying to use this conspiracy theory to undermine the country for your own political gain. I can't imagine a more cynical play than that, honestly. And the problem is not only do people on the left and people who are sane see through it and see the cynical play that you are, using to manipulate people, but the people who actually believe in the crap, they also see through it. So we've seen with Josh Hawley's approval rating in Missouri is total garbage. It's garbage with Democrats. He's taken a big hit with Republicans. This hasn't worked out to their benefit whatsoever. So for any Republicans out there, just look, if you're willing to go all the way in Marjorie Taylor Greene, then okay, I guess that's your choice. I'm not encouraging you here. But if you aren't willing to go all the way, then you're going to end up, just like Ted Cruz, just like Josh Hawley, just like Lindsey Graham getting screamed at in the airport and mobbed by these people too. There is no middle ground here. So if you want to keep your dignity and your decency at all whatsoever, I recommend you choose a different path.
Well, I try not to speak about dignity and decency to politicians because they don't really care. Instead, I'd be like, listen, let's think about electoral results. And even Hawley, he's been putting out how the most recent polls show that he's actually the most popular politician in Missouri, but still only has a 46% approval. Being more popular than Roy Blunt is not, that big of an accomplishment. And look, I think he'll probably win his reelection to the Senate. Ted Cruz, there's no question that I think he'll probably win whatever race he's next in statewide in Texas. But here's the question. If you actually want to run for president, what does that show you? Which is that if you try and run in a primary and you're not willing to go, like we said, full Dominion, then the people are going to look out and say, hey, I'm not going to vote for you. You are not authentic to the Trump cause. And people who are the suburban voters who very much either voted for Joe Biden or reluctantly voted for Trump and are now part of the 30% of Republicans who disapprove of his handling of January 6th, well, you're also not going to vote for Ted Cruz because you're like, hey, he was the architect. So what does that leave you with? What percent of the electorate do you have left? How are you going to win? And let's say you do win. How are you going to ever win Arizona and Georgia by having done some of this? The attack ads write themselves, especially in Georgia, which we already know just went blue because of this nonsense. Arizona is going to go bluer after this. It won't even be nearly as tight. Same thing that Nebraska 2nd District in Omaha or in Wisconsin or Pennsylvania. Just on a national level, the electoral consequences of this are going to be immense. And so I just see it really as they're getting squeezed from both ends. And I think this is karma for, and it shows that you cannot thread the needle here. You are either in or you're out. Live with the consequences. Don't try and have it both ways. And that's what they're trying to do.
And by dabbling and legitimizing this crap, you're actually creating the playing field on which the Marjorie Taylor Greens of the world thrive and succeed.
Yeah. And will destroy you. Yeah.
Right. Which will destroy you because look, you're in a deep red state. I mean, I think Ted Cruz is a little less safe than Josh Hawley. Missouri's a redder state at this point than Texas is. But you still have to worry about your right flank. You still have to worry about, hey, does someone who was willing to go all in on the Venezuelan dominions, are they going to come and primary you? And what are you going to do then? Because that is actually the dynamic in the situation that you are creating by helping to legitimize and enable this stuff. So yeah, I think you're right. I think it is karma. I think that's the best way to look at it. Hard to feel bad for him.
No, I don't feel bad at all. Good luck, Ted. Couldn't happen to a nicer guy. All right. We'll have more Rising for everybody right after this.